We live, Mrs. Bailey?
It's getting ready. It's sending it right now. And yes, we are live.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. This is Chris Hankey here, the superintendent of Garfield Heights City Schools. We're here for another town hall meeting. With me today, I'm just going to go clockwise around. What I see on my screen is Ms. Yolanda Hamilton. She is our diversity, equity, inclusion consultant. And Al Sluka, our treasurer, CFO, director of business services, and Ms. Sherry Bailey, our director of technology. This town hall will be 1 hour in length. We are here to talk about the reopening plan with folks. And I just want to briefly touch on what the board had approved in August for our reopening plan. We will be doing a hybrid model where students are in for 1 week and then they're at home for a week learning as much as they are now. And they will have the same teacher or teachers with them that will go with them, whether they are in school or out of school. In addition to that, we are working on a phase-in plan that'll start in the next couple of weeks, where students will have the opportunity to come in and experience school for a couple of days to get used to the different safety and sanitation protocols and work on PBIS and various things. We do not have that complete yet, so we don't want to share out all the dates and details. We will do that toward the beginning of next week. Additionally, Mr. Sluka is here because he has taken the lead on the safety and sanitation protocols. And I guess before we get a ton of questions, Al, do you just kind of want to go into some of the main points that we have covered in terms of that for the return?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hankey, and I appreciate being able to come on and share at the town hall some of the steps we have taken for our buildings to make it a safe and clean environment for our staff and students. So let me go right into what we have done so far. We'll start off with, we have installed thermal imagers in all of our buildings, starting with the high school all the way down to all of the elementaries. The thought process here is that every person, including staff, students, visitors who come into our buildings, will go to one door and they will have their go walk through the thermal imager and have their temperature taken. We feel that this is the first step in a long line of steps to ensure that everybody that is entering our building is running below temperature. Now, it's not going to catch everything, but running below temperature, and it's the first line of defense on trying to catch something that maybe is or is not there. So every one of our buildings has thermal imagers. Everyone at that entrance will have to pass through a thermal imager as they come through the building. It'll be manned by either security or other personnel, and we'll be recording your temperature. That will be for every student that enters in the morning and every staff member that enters, including the staff members from other buildings. Everybody has to go through the same entrance. So it's not for just a one group of people. It's for all group of peoples. Yeah, there's a nice term. Next up, we are putting ionization units in all of our buildings, except for the middle school, and I'll touch on that in a minute. The equipment is on order. I am looking to start installing that and having it ready to go by the end of next week or the middle of the following week. The only issue and delay is getting the proper equipment. Installation, I hear, will take a day or two to get done. But we are looking forward to having that in. And what the ionization does is that as the air passes through the ionization units, it cleans it as it recycles through the buildings. We feel this is the most efficient way, and it's been also proven to kill COVID and any other type of bacteria infections that are in our air. So long after COVID is done, I still think it's a good thing for our buildings to have clean air circulating. This is also in line with procedures of, as the weather is good, to open windows and have fresh air circulating. As far as the middle school, it's an older building. We are looking to install, and we've started the process of starting a whole building ventilation system that will circulate the air on a continuous basis. We feel bringing fresh air continually through our buildings will flush out anything it's in the air or is lingering in the air. So we are doing that for the middle school, and that'll be a whole building fresh air circulation that comes through the roof, and it will circulate all through the building and then get exhausted through the roof on a continuous basis. We feel this is efficient to at least get air movement through that building and try to keep the air as clean and fresh as possible. Next week, we're going to be doing building walkthroughs again. We've already done it once. We are configuring each of our buildings for social distancing. We will have markers, places in line, everywhere you go, up one-way staircases, one-way hallways in all of our buildings. You will be as surprised as a parent, or surprised as a parent and a student. You will be, as part of our plan, showed how we're going to do that. And we're trying to do social distancing as much as we can. Classroom configuration, the desks will be set up in such a manner that we will only be putting as many students in that classroom, the same number of desks. And we will try to get those socially distant as possible. Each classroom will have 2 items in it. It will have a hand sanitizer, and we'll also have a spray bottle of our disinfectant that we've been using to wipe down tables and classroom desks, and being able to do that after every use of a student. So if you are at the high school, middle school, you will be asked to, as you change classes, just get a spray bottle, spray your desk real quick, wipe it down, and leave it for the next person to come in. These sprays, we have a new spray. You spray it, it dissipates in 3 minutes and kills any type of COVID or anything else that's on those desks in a matter of 3 minutes. And this is a proven formula that we've been using for the past month and a half. So those PPE supplies will be in place. Each building, the expectations that students will be wearing masks and have to come to school with masks. We will have masks available for our students should they not have one or something happens to their mask. So each building will have that ready to go. And we've also supplied masks to our teachers. We provide each teacher with 2 masks. We also have shields. And for those teachers that are maybe a little higher at risk or working with our most needy students, we have the paper, I don't want to call them hazmat suits, but paper suits that can be easily disposable that you can pull on over your clothing. So we have those ready to go too for anybody that would want them from our staff. The next thing that we do, we have cleaning procedures in place. Each building has 2, like I call backpack sprayers, where they're battery operated, where you can go in and spray a classroom, and you can, in 10 minutes, that classroom will be disinfected, and it probably takes them maybe 5 minutes to spray down the whole room. The other thing we have, each building has I like to call it a mister, but it's a unit that'll mist all the classrooms, and that unit also is available to go in there to spray down classrooms in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. So each building has 2 backpack units and a mister. Except for the elementaries, they have 1 of each. It's easy to just go in and do. So we are looking to use that daily at the end of the day by our housekeepers who work after the students leave. During the day, we have a plan in place that during the day, all water fountains will be shut down, but each building does have a water bottle station where you put your water bottle if you bring it to school, water bottle fill station. Or if you're at some of the elementaries, you might have a sink in your room. So we will not be allowing drinking fountains. But if you do bring your own water bottle, you'll be able to fill it up at these water bottle stations to stay hydrated. Bathrooms, we try to limit bathroom use. We know that's not feasible. We will have staff going around at intervals during the day, spraying down the bathrooms and any other high touch surface. So that's our plan in place during the day to walk around after bathroom use, is to spray down the bathrooms. Once again, these disinfectants clear up in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. So it won't be that long for the next use for those. That's our plan right now. Don't get me wrong. We will be pivoting as we always do, and we will try to tweak this plan, make it better as we go forward from that standpoint. If I could briefly touch, Chris, on the transportation, just so everybody knows, right now we have been recommended that we have one child, one seat per bus. That drastically cuts down on the capacity of our buses. Where we once could get 54, 55 students on a bus, we now have 27. That limits our capacity. That limits our bus runs. The board has, in the school district, has pushed out the bus runs in order to meet school times. We have needed to push out our bus runs to the 2 mile limit. If that capacity changes, we will try to see if we can adjust that. I know in the previous years, we've been going 1.5 miles and out. We need to move that to 2 miles so we can transport all the students and meet the school times. Those of you parents who are watching that are 1.5 to 2 miles out, you'll be getting a letter from us saying that we needed to cut transportation. We don't want to do that. We're just following the guidelines of the County Board of Health, the governor, and the Ohio Department of Education. If that changes, we'll try to pivot quickly and let you know if we increase our capacity based on the numbers. But as of now, we are at the 2 mile limit. The reason we have to do that, we have the buses to transport at 1.5. We just don't have the bus drivers. So if you are a bus driver or want to drive a bus, let us know. We're looking for bus drivers. Lastly, if I could follow up with the food service program, right now it's pickup. You sign up every Thursday night for the pickup for the next week. We currently have pickup at each of your child's buildings. We also have delivery for those students who are eligible for delivery, and that's based on how far away from the building that you live. Once we go back to our back to school, the delivery piece will be discontinued, and we will be serving we're serving in-school lunches and breakfast for those students who are attending, and then we will have available for those students that are on the off week, we will have breakfast and lunch available for pickup for those students. So that's our plan right now for safety and sanitation, transportation, and food service. We're constantly meeting and talking and tweaking our plan. We will be doing, like I said, building walkthroughs next week with administration and to finalize just what it's going to look like for your child who is coming to school and what they're expecting to see, and go from there.
Thanks, Mr. Saluka. I'd like to, questions are coming in. Mrs. Bailey's monitoring
Sure.
the chat. So I'd like to address a couple of questions. I'm going to group a few of these questions together. I understand that there might be a discomfort for some folks in terms of coming back in person. I really think it's important that students that are able and are able to come back to school. We have not had in-person learning since early March. So, we're going on 9 months. I think we've done a good job with our online program, and there are some students in the Bulldog Digital Academy that have committed to a semester of online learning. But I don't know if there's a substitute in terms of in-person learning. However, I would encourage anyone that has a discomfort to first reach out to your homeschool principal to talk about the individual building plans to keep students safe. I will say this, as I speak to colleagues, superintendents around the county, there are a number of school districts that have come back to school. As you may have seen on the news, there have been issues here and there with COVID. Excuse that. That's a doorbell at my house. I apologize. There have been issues here and there, and the school districts have pivoted to, when they've had a COVID diagnosis, to shut down the affected areas, or in some cases, the whole school, to make sure that students are safe and to disinfect the school. However, overall, around the area, school has been a relatively safe place in terms of in terms of students coming back. School districts of all sizes have come back successfully. So I do encourage you, if you have some discomfort, to talk to the principal, and then we can go from there. For our Bulldog Digital Academy students, again, we did ask for a semester commitment. And part of that is we wanted to make sure that we had some continuity in terms of staffing, and also to have continuity for the students. We didn't want, we wanted to make sure that we had at least a semester. So at the end of the semester, people will be able to come out of the Digital Academy, or they may be able also to opt in. Much like some of the PPE and safety measures we're putting in place, we believe the Digital Academy will have some staying power after COVID. There are online schools, charter schools, and we would like to be able to offer a service that's equal or better than those schools. And it also allows our students to stay in the district and be Garfield Heights City Schools students. A couple of the other things here.
Would you like me to read you some of the questions, Mr. Hankey?
Yeah, well, I'm going down right
kind of
here.
all lumped together.
Okay, now I've got them here on the right.
Okay, all right.
I've got them here on the right. I appreciate it. Question about transportation. If a student has transportation in their IEP, will they still get transported? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You're right, Mr. Saluka?
Absolutely, they will. It's
yeah.
I also see another question here, Mr. Hankey, on the middle school ventilation system.
Mm-hmm.
They started that project today,
Mm-hmm.
and they should have it completed by the end of next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so that will be in place by the time the students come back.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, I want to just speak briefly about the hybrid model, where in terms of who attends when. Okay. So we are doing an alternate week model. And so in K through 5, we are looking at, say, the first group, and we will be getting this information out again. The first group would be K2-4, the even numbered grades, will attend. And then 1, 3, and 5 will attend the next week. And that rotation will keep going. At the middle school level, the middle school, it has a teaming concept. So the students are placed on teams. So for the first week, team 1, we're calling it, will go. And these teams are usually named. It's part of the program, but we're just calling them teams 1 and 2. And the team 1 will go in person, and then it will flip-flop to team 2. The high school is a little more complex. And they will, one thing we were able to do, though, in the initial plan, we were not able, we didn't think we would be able to have 11th and 12th graders come in person at all during the hybrid model. We are now able to do that. And they will be divided up by grade levels. And the high school will be communicating a lot more about that in the next week. But rest assured, we thought it was important, as everybody does, to have the students come back to school, and we were able to have that happen. That has, just for the audience's information, that also has been a very big issue logistically for area school students, or area school districts, excuse me. they've had a lot of trouble. We all have figuring out our high school schedules because they're complex. This is a very good question here. If the COVID trend becomes upward, it says continues upward, which actually the COVID trend in Cuyahoga County is a little different from the state. The state has experienced a bit of an uptick in COVID. We've been running about dead even on infection rates the last 2 to 3 weeks. We are still on the precipice, or right in between being orange and yellow. Yellow is the lowest amount of infection spread. So we are, I applaud not only Garfield Heights City Schools, but our county has just done a good job making sure in their personal lives they have followed the rules and directions with social distancing and mask wearing. If the COVID trend does go up and it becomes a significant issue, especially if we go to red, we will have to drill down and look at the zip code in terms of spread. And if it goes to purple, we will have to go back to remote. The good news is that we have gotten the Chromebook distribution, as Mrs. Bailey worked on and her team, to everyone. And teachers will still have to post as this goes on. We'll have to post to Google Classroom and work with Zoom when students are out. So we have the ability, and it has become kind of a buzzword, to pivot quickly if we have to and still have instruction. And I think that's it, Mrs. Bailey, unless I've missed something as of now.
Let me comment in on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
How will students be accommodated in the bus? Right now, our buses are configured to 1 student per seat, and they alternate seats when they go aisle, window, so they're not sitting right behind the person in front of them. So as I mentioned before, our buses, we have 54, 55, even 70 passenger buses. The maximum capacity is 27 students. So they will be configured. Now, we were looking at if there's families, we will try to group families together to get more seating or all together in one part of the bus. But we're going to start back to front. First person on goes all the way back, and we will build back to front. And then we will, as the students leave, they will leave front to back. So we shouldn't be passing anybody in the aisles. Secondly, as for safety, after every run, the driver will be spraying down their bus with the same disinfectant that we're using in schools. And then once that stops, after that 10-minute dissipation, they will be starting their next run, because due to the low capacity, again, we will be doing multiple runs. We'll be starting at the middle school, doing runs for middle school students because they start earlier, and then our buses will be sprayed down, and then they will start their runs for the elementary students. So that is the plan in place. Mandatory masks as you enter the bus. And masks during the whole trip. Should a student or something happen to their mask at the bus stop, we will give them a mask on the bus. We ask parents to cooperate in ensuring their students have their mask. We're also going to be asking parents at the bus stop to ensure or ask their child to social distance at bus stops as part of this process. But that's our safety protocols right now for our busing of our students.
Couple of things that have come through here. Students with compromised immune systems. If there is a medical issue that will affect your ability to come in person, then please get in touch with your principal. We will work through those issues. If someone does need to stay out due to a compromised immune system or other illness that puts them at high risk for COVID infection, then we will accommodate those requests on a case-by-case basis. If someone gets sick, it's really, and I'm not trying to be coy, but it does depend. It depends if the grade level, because if there is a classroom that needs to stay out, then because they have only been around students in the classroom and the teacher, we might be able to do that. If the person or student has been around the whole school and we have to have the school shut down for cleaning and have the students quarantine, we will do that. If an individual student is just ill, first of all, we absolutely encourage parents, if the student is ill, please do not send them to school. If they do in fact come to school ill with symptoms of a cold or a flu or they all these symptoms unfortunately overlap with COVID, we have a protocol with a quarantine room where the students that are ill will go to the quarantine room and Ms. Hamilton, please comment if you want. We're going to do this in a way that is respectful of the students' privacy. And also make sure that they don't feel uncomfortable, but we do need to make sure that they are separated so we can then get them home. But we do absolutely, if a student is ill, please do not send them to school. Same goes for our employees. If they are ill, we tell them, please do not come to work. It's imperative now that we all look out for each other in terms of that. Students in a class depends on how many students in a class depends on the class really. What we're doing is trying to limit the amount of students in a building. Classes, as I said during the board meeting, could be upward of 25 students. If there is an issue with distancing, we will make accommodations for that. We believe we have enough space to make sure that students are safe in the classrooms. It looks like there is a parent that wonders why we don't have the plan ready. The plan is ready for the hybrid model. The phase-in plan, we're just working out the logistics of that to make, but we want to make sure that it is set to go before we release it, so we have the exact dates and times that students will be coming in. I think, Al, there's some.
Yeah, I could address some of those. The first question I saw is, why do we go from 1 to 2 miles? We actually went from 1.5 to 2 miles. And the reason, again, is because we do not have the number of bus drivers and capacity to transport and get students there with the limited 27 per bus to get students to school on time. What we don't want to do is we don't want to have to be picking up students at 6:30 or earlier times so we can make the school times. So that's why we had to go from 1.5 to 2 miles, because we don't have the enough bus drivers to be able to fill all the routes if we went 1.5 miles out with all those students. Secondly, the training for the buses, the sanitary trainings, drivers have been spraying buses as of now. They've been in working. We've been having runs to the career center. We've been having runs out for special needs students. And we've had drivers who are in using the backpacks and spraying down buses and vans after every run. They know what they need to do, and it's an easy process. You just spray down all of the touch surfaces, and it's safe. And in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, it dissipates and it kills every type of bacterial organism that's on the bus. Will the Digital Academy students continue to get breakfast and lunch? Absolutely. There'll be the same process, ordering online the Thursday before and pick up at the buildings of the students. Let's see, will there be professionals cleaning the building? We have a professional housekeeping staff that are worked in those buildings. I think our average staff years of service in each building is upwards of maybe 5 to 10 years. They've been working in their same buildings for a long time. And do they know what it needs to take to clean those buildings? Absolutely. Do they have the tools to clean those buildings? Absolutely. Do they have the sprayers and the steamers and misters to clean those buildings? Absolutely. So we do have a good staff in place that takes pride in their work in each of our buildings, and they're going to be a little bit more diligent because they know the importance of getting those buildings clean during this time of COVID.
Question: are teachers being tested or checked daily? Teachers are not being tested daily. There's a capacity issue, frankly, around the United States in terms of testing. It's unfortunate, but that type of testing isn't available to the general public. Are teachers being checked daily? Yes. All employees have to run through these same thermal imagers or get their temperature taken by a thermometer. If they are in fact ill or appear ill, we have empowered our employees and our administrators to send them home. We do not want anyone with that's symptomatic, that either with a COVID symptom or another symptom, with a flu or a cold, to come into our buildings. And we are asking teachers as professionals to monitor themselves as well. But we are monitoring their temperatures, and they are logging them every day as they come into the building, and that's been ongoing since the teachers have been back in the buildings. A little less than half of our teachers are teaching digitally, but they are in the buildings doing so.
Mr. Haney, oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Al?
No, I was going to ask, I'm sorry, Yolanda, to follow up on that. I think that if you would touch a little bit on our edict to the staff is, if you're feeling ill, please don't come in.
Yes.
And I think that's maybe the same message to parents for their child. If their child is ill, please, it's only a mild thing, and send them to school. We're going to ask that they, if their child is ill, regardless, please keep them home.
Yes. That's going to keep everybody safe. Sorry, Ms. Hamilton, go ahead.
No, and I just wanted to reiterate to the audience, because I'm looking at some comments in terms of, people not feeling comfortable and wanting to know, specifically with busing, just knowing that as the district, we are all part of different committees that we sit on, where we are strategically and making informed decisions. And so many of these decisions are built based on compliance also. For example, the unlimited amount of children that can ride the bus safely according to COVID protocol. So these are not just decisions that Mr. Saluka and Mr. Hanke are saying, hey, we're only going to have half the kids on the bus. We are working as a district to maintain compliance with the guidelines that we have been given. And so please understand, while we are working to make flexibility within our plan, some things are not flexible. Some things we have to do to be in compliance. Also, Mr. Hanke, I was going to ask if you can speak to some of the parents having concerns about the ratio in the classroom, so the number of students, and also the support that students will have during the week where they're not on site. I think it's important for all of the parents to understand remote learning will still be taking place with this hybrid plan. So on the weeks that the students are off, quote unquote, they will still be learning remotely. And so again, the hybrid is a mixture of being on site for part of the learning, but also still having the remote learning in process. Can you speak to that?
Let me take this from the top. I think that your first point, Ms. Hamilton, was very good. I don't make decisions in a vacuum. I know it's kind of a buzzword, but I think we do practice shared leadership here. We have a COVID-19 task force that has a number of folks on it that are in leadership positions. And we also look at this from the equity lens. We have an equity task force, which we think is incredibly important. And also we have our central office cabinet, which are the central office administrators. Those are the three major groups that have been meeting quite consistently, weekly, basically, since the onset, or a little bit after the onset of this in the spring. So let me go through also the class size issue. Class sizes, again, we will have students. I want to make sure that I'm transparent about this. We could have a class size of 25. We are striving to have less children than that. But if there are in fact that many, then we will ensure that there's enough space for the students in the class. couple things that, in terms of safety and sanitation that Mr. Saluk has been working on with the COVID task force, in terms of the ventilation, sanitizer, mask wearing, social distancing. Those are all things that we believe will protect the students. Quite frankly, is anything at 100%? No, it's not. But we believe that we have a good plan in place to keep students safe. The hybrid model. Let me kind of dig into that. Districts have gone to various models. So this particular hybrid model. So if I'm teaching my old high school 9th grade American history class, right? And I have 9th grade on week A, for example. On week B, I am not teaching in person to students. I am following the students that I had in person online. So those teachers are going to be able to dedicate themselves to the classes that are assigned to them. They are not, quote unquote, doing double duty where they're teaching every week in person, if that makes sense. I hope that made sense, Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
The second piece I think to note is Mrs. Pillitz, our Director of Special Education, is working with our low incidence population that may be self-contained. Our goal with some of these self-contained populations that are in the same classrooms due to a disability a category or a setting, we are trying to have those settings come every day, not in a hybrid model right off the bat. But we do recognize that there could be some a medical issue or some other issues that could prevent students from doing that, and we will work as an IEP team on individual issues. Let's see here. At the high school, all students are coming back except for Friday. That is not correct. We are working on the week on, week off, 5 days a week schedule for K through 12. It just looks a little different in the secondary schools, middle and high school. K through 5 is a little more, well, quite honestly, it's just simpler to figure out because you don't have a lot of class changing going on and things of that nature. Plexiglass in the desk, Mr. Slick, if you want to take that, and I can also piggyback on the first ring on that.
Yeah, there will not be plexiglass on desks. It's financially infeasible for us to be purchasing plexiglass for each desk. So we think that if we're separating the desks out to try to maintain social distancing, we do have plexiglass for our staff members in the office as they meet visitors, and any other area where there's a visitor staff member contact or a student staff member contact, there will be plexiglass on those desks so as to separate each from the other to maintain the social distancing. Should a guidance counselor or a secretary need to meet, or principal need to meet with a student one-on-one, they do have plexiglass in the office. We do also have plexiglass set up for our cafeterias in the lines. So if you are in the high school, middle school, and we're going through to get food, there is plexiglass separating our staff from the students, so there's safety on both sides. Where will students eat lunch? If you're in the elementaries, you'll be eating in your classroom. If you're at the middle school, you'll be picking up your lunch in the cafeteria and taking it to your classroom. We are still working on the final piece of where the high schoolers will be eating lunch. We think there's going to be a multiple of rooms to maintain social distancing. They can't eat in their classrooms because we are changing classrooms, and there might be another class in that room. So we're still working out the logistics of where the high school will be eating their lunches, but we will make sure that they are social distant wherever they will be eating.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Hamilton, go ahead.
And I was just going to encourage, you hit on most of the questions that are coming through. I want to encourage parents also, you can always feel free to email after you replay the chat, because there's some comments, but majority of the questions are being addressed. to Mr. Saluka's point, that the students are not eating in the cafeteria. It was just stated that they're taking their lunches back to their classrooms, correct?
In
the high-
Every area except for the high school.
Okay,
well,
Because those classrooms will be in use, but we're exploring other spaces. So if you have one group that's eating, we will ensure social distancing. So some kids might have to travel down to, say, the lobby of the HPE to eat, or the lobby of the Center for Performing Arts to eat, or even maybe in the library to eat, to make sure it's their social distance. So
Yeah,
we
so-
can't have 8 to a table in the high school cafeteria anymore, 6 to a table. It might be
Right.
2 to a table there, and as many we could fit 2 to a table, and then we'd have to shift them over to another area. So there's 2 to a table or 1 to a table, depending on. So that's the whole idea, to ensure that there's social distancing. It's the key for all of this.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate and what Ms. Hamilton said. I am always an email away. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. And I am a phone call away, and I try to get to each call within 1 day, if not sooner. And I'm more than happy to take questions or calls, and I'm here to help and listen as we go through this process. And what something came over with the chat out in the social distance with 26 students. It's dependent on the size of the classroom.
Right.
In terms of that, we will look at that if we have an issue in a classroom in terms of space. Go ahead.
If I could touch on that, Chris, we have stripped down all of the classrooms from all of the extra stuff, like bookshelves, like any other teaching material. So we have stripped down those classrooms and removed all that extraneous type of furniture. So all you have in the classroom is a teacher's desk and a student's desk. So to try to maintain as much distance possibility between the student desks. So anything else. So as a student goes into their classroom, they're going to see a lot of the peripheral stuff is gone, covered up, taped over with bags, so they can't have access. So we try to make sure we expand the classroom footprint to ensure social distancing. But some classrooms might have a little bit more desks than others. But believe you me, we'll make sure that they are distant and the student stays in their little area.
Question here: will students be moving to different classes? For middle and high school, the short answer is yes. In K to 5, the short answer is no. Again, that's one of the reasons you have the hybrid model, so you have a lessened amount of traffic in the hallways, where you only have half of the students there. So they are able to maintain social distancing. Speaking of the hybrid model for the high school, I'm sorry, I'm also typing here to make sure that I'm answering these appropriately with our teaching and learning director. So the hybrid model for the high school is based on grade levels. It is you'll have like a grade level in the building, like 2 grade levels for a week, and then you'd switch to the next week and have 2 grade levels. Again, reasoning for that is trying to lessen the amount of children in the building to maintain social distancing and to make sure that we're able to have a level of safety. Just generally, I do want to say that I understand that we have not been in school since I think it was around March 15th.
March. Yep. St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, it was. It was St. Patrick's Day weekend, I think was the last weekend. We understand that this is going to be a transition for folks. We think it's important, obviously, that our students come back. And secondly, we think we can do it very safely. And we do understand that at least we believe that everyone's going to have an adjustment in terms of relearning how school works. We are encouraging all of our staff and teachers that for the first couple of weeks here, we're talking about process and routines and learning, relationship building. And then we can get down to the education piece of this. But relationship building and process and routine are going to be important to make this effective. Masks. And again, I'm kind of as the questions are coming in, I'm also kind of talking here. Students are required and staff are required to wear masks. If there is a medical issue that your student has that where they cannot wear a mask, please contact the principal and we'll work through that issue. Their medical exemptions are noted by the state of Ohio, by the CDC, by the Department of Health and the Cuyahoga County Department of Health. That's when we will look at additional PPE for the student. Maybe alternate PPE, such as a face shield or an individual type of plexiglass for someone who cannot wear a mask. As all of the health authorities have said, your two most important things to stem the tide of COVID are masks and social distancing. And that's why we want to make sure that that everyone is wearing masks. In one way, something about one-way hallways. Mr. Slew, you want to talk about the one-way hallways?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Henke. Yes, we've already done one building walkthrough, and I've identified one-way hallways and one-way up and one-way down staircases. So all of our elementary schools will have one-way hallways. Middle school will have one-way hallways. High school, unfortunately, with the change of classes, it's not feasible to have one-way hallways, but we will have mandated that students stay to one side. So we will have markings that they need to stay away from the middle, and there's one way, and you stay on your side of the line. If you're going in one direction, stay on the other side of the line and going on the other direction. So, but yeah, K through 8, we will have one-way hallways and one-way up and down staircases. And everything will be adequately marked. So you will know, your child will know, stop, do not go this way. It's one way, and up, one way down. So that's the plan in place when your child gets back to school.
I think just, generally, and I know Ms. Hamilton mentioned this during one, that we appreciate everyone's grace and patience as we have moved through this, moved through the pandemic. Yeah. It is quite honestly, for everyone in this nation, maybe in the world, it has been a very difficult time. We hope that the school will be helpful in terms of being an institution that students and parents can lean on to help, because we can have some in-person instruction. I'm a teacher, but I don't want to lecture folks, but I just want to say, please, as I do in my personal life, please in your personal life, be very careful in terms of masks and social distancing.
Yeah. And to put some, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, and to put some things in perspective, I'm seeing, as Mr. Henke said, we're seeing the comments. We're parents. We get it. We understand your concerns. And to put some perspective in terms of the hybrid model, with this starting in November, when you look at the 1 week on site and 1 week remote, considering Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas break that's coming up, when you look at the hybrid model, the students, it's a good phase-in plan because it allows a few weeks just to get acclimated to see how everything goes. And again, it is important that everyone remains flexible, even with all of your concerns that happen. God forbid COVID spikes, then we're back to full remote learning and we just wouldn't have any options. So we understand your concerns, and we just encourage you. Some people are saying, what do we do if we're uncomfortable? You have to make the decision that's best for your family. And Mr. Hankey, I know with the Bulldog Digital Academy, there was the semester-long commitment. For those that are doing remote learning, they will then have to transfer into the hybrid model. And if there are any other special circumstances, then parents are encouraged to reach out directly to you to help be directed to the appropriate party in the district to help them navigate those issues.
Yes, yeah. And always trying to start with the principal in the home school. I think that's helpful because they can answer very building specific questions.
Yes.
Each building's a little different. And certainly more than welcome to reach out to me as well. It looks like the chat is kind of run out of steam at the moment. So I would like to just thank everyone. And we'll end it here. Again, we will get out information about how the phase-in is going to work early next week, and we will go from there. We will also have some more information about the kind of the intricacies of the high school and how that's going to work next week, because that is a little different than the rest of the grades. With that, I thank everyone. Students are not in session tomorrow. Have a good long weekend. And we'll see you back in the remote setting on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.